Welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another video series. We're doing something a little different this time around. We're working on one of these. This happens to be an old school 1979 Firebird. 10th anniversary, made by MPC, and that's what we're going to do this time around. Hit it, Maestro. Yeah, so we can start on our new build, and that's going to be this guy right here. 10th anniversary Firebird Trans Am. Yes, my box does say Trans Am. The picture says Firebird. This is just a slight variation. This particular one came out with some kind of a special thing about golden wheel bonus, and this one here, it's got the 2-in-1. You can build it as a regular Firebird, or you can build it as a race car. The kit is identical as far as what comes in the box and everything like that. You can tell by old school instructions, it's a little bit yellowed. Now I wound up having to get this off of eBay, but it was a sealed box. It's never been opened until I got it. So let's take a look inside here and see what MPC did back in the 80s to build this model kit. We have our clear window glass and of course our red tail light lens. Let me change the camera here real quick so you can get a little bit better look at these parts. Okay, so clear front and rear windows and the red tail light lens. We have a single bag with all of our technically molded in silver parts. I'll open that up in a minute. And then we have another bag here with all of our chrome pieces. So let's first take a look at our chrome stuff. It's kind of funny they put it in such a big bag, but whatever. Yeah, let's drop it on the floor, why don't we? And okay, nothing broken loose. The chrome is really nice. Oh, hi Mega Boy. How are you today? So we have two different sets of rims based on what you want to do. These are the, looks like the standard Firebird kind of rim that came on the 10th anniversary Firebird. And then we've got some old, looks like Craigar 5 stars, if you're familiar with those kinds of things. So I'm not quite sure which ones I'm going to go with. Well, we'll see, but we got lots of nice chrome engine oil pans and valve covers, chrome engine fan, chrome exhaust, chrome front intake grill. We've got a nice flat board here for our racing dials that go on the dash if you want to go with that route. A couple little chrome strips. I'm not sure what that's for. So there's our chrome pieces. Alright, we have our 4 rubber tires that we'll have to deal with the inserts on those. Let's put those there. And we have decals. Now, you might say, why? Wow, you got lots of decals in this kit. Well, actually, the decals that are in this bag are the decals that came in the kit. Okay, this right there. But this particular hood decal is good if you're actually painting it that color, but I am not. I'm not going to be painting this thing silver, so this is basically useless to me. We also have a golden opportunity. You collect stuff. This, of course, from long time ago. It's long out of date. So I went online and I found raised decals. And I ordered some other decals. Now I wasn't quite sure which ones I wanted, so I got a lot of extra ones. So we got all kinds of little dashboard dashboard pieces and stuff like that. Obviously lots of different birds and dials and things like that. So I have lots of options, whatever color I want to paint the car. But I am going to be going with this. This is the blue one. That's the one I'm going to be using because I'm going to paint this car blue. So let's have a look at all these. Okay, let's just pause for a moment here. So I want to show you guys, you know, I don't normally do this. I don't really go through the whole thing and show you guys all the different pieces. But in this case, I want to do that because I'm going to be spraying this whole thing in Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. And as you guys know from my past videos, when I paint this thing in black primer, you guys suddenly can't see any of the detail on the camera. And I don't like that, and so I want to give you guys the benefit of seeing these parts and their detail before it all gets painted black. Okay, so let's pull this out of the bag, all of our parts. That's just a little bit of extra sprue, that's not a part. So our front seats are obviously separate on their own. Now it said on the box this is molded in silver. So as you can tell, it is kind of a silvery color, but if you were just to leave it like this, you'd be very disappointed. I do not like how they have the T-tops molded in like this. They do have them carved out like that, so you do have the option of actually cutting them out if you wanted. But if you wanted to have removable T-tops, you'd need to have clear glass pieces, and that clear top, the clear, does not have them. In fact, let me get this out of the bag and I'll show you. Here's our clear. Okay, a lot of flashing on it, as you can see here, to have to deal with. But these two bars would go right through across a T-roof, T-top. So if you had cut these out, you'd have these bars going across. You'd have to cut these out to fit that in there. And that's a pain in the neck. So I'm just going to leave these in like that, and I'll have to paint them, but whatever. That's the way it goes sometimes, right? So yeah. So anyway, there's the main body. Not much to it. This obviously has to come off. You got cut out. A little bit of flashing, a little bit of cleanup you have to do. That's all right. Nothing major. We have our undercarriage. One big piece. Nothing special. Of course, this is all going to be black, so that's that. I might as well put this over on my table here and get ready for some paint. Here's our interior bucket with a big flash left on it for some reason. Let's just trim this off. I'll leave a little piece. Actually, I don't need to. There we go. Okay. Even on the part where it's supposed to fit in on the inside on these two big knobs, that's looks like you have to do this kind of thing, and it's going to be tight. It's been years since I have actually assembled a car model kit. Many years. Yeah, so there we go. Not exactly a precise fit on the back here, but it does. It gives you an idea of what the interior is going to be like. Right? Anyway, let's get this out of here. Alright. Okay. Two seats, obviously. Again, we got some flashing on there to clean up. We have our front nose piece. That obviously goes on the front of here. Like so. Not exactly the best fit. but we'll deal with it. It doesn't really line up. This obviously is going to have to spread out a little bit to match the contour. So we got a little bit of work ahead of us. This definitely ain't no Tamiya kit. Definitely not a Tamiya kit. Hey, Uella. It's very silver and looks like it will end up silver too. Actually, I'm going to be painting this blue, believe it or not. I'm going to be going with a color that I have never painted before, and that is this one right here. Candy Electric Blue by Alclad. Very nice looking blue. It's a clear blue, so I'm going to be painting this whole thing black, put a clear coat on it, and then I'll paint it silver like chrome. I'll be using the chrome, the Alclad chrome right here, the Alclad chrome, and paint that, and then over top of the chrome I'll put the Candy Electric Blue. So that is the plan for this guy. So what's next? Ugly looking sprue. We have our hood just barely hanging on to this particular sprue right here. Let's just gently trim that before we make anything worse. Lots of cleanup on the flashing to do on the hood, but that's okay. There's no point in even trying to fit this right now because it's not going to fit with all the flashing on there, but that's kind of what it's going to be like. Yes, paints do have interesting names. So we have our engine pieces, at least the top half. Thank you, airplane, for interrupting me. Intake manifold, that looks like the front cover, maybe the water pump, and the heads. And here we have our shaker hood scoop system. Right there. Good stuff. Let's put that aside. We have some wheels, our four wheels. We have our dashboard. It looks like it's actually pretty decently sculpted, the detail in there. Now I do have the decals in the box there that you could just do an overlay, boom, put the decals on. But with it all being so nicely sculpted, I don't think I have to worry about that. I could try just putting the decal on and see how it looks, and if I don't like it, I just take the decal off. It's an option. On this one we've got our firewall. That looks like our radiator front. Here's our rear spoiler, rear bumper, front A-arms. This looks like a cowl for the engine fan, wheel flare moldings. This one, engine exhaust. That's the headers. That looks like maybe possibly radiator hose, maybe the other hose. Mirrors. Half of an engine block. We have our rear axle and suspension, and we've got our exhausts as well, and I don't know what that piece is. No idea what that is yet. We have roll cage pieces. If you want to do the race car version of this car, we have roll cage that you can install. Steering wheel. We have the battery. The other half of the engine block. And we have more roll cage pieces. More roll cage, and looks like side exhaust, side exit exhaust, and of course the safety net that goes over the window so you don't have your arms fly out the window in a crash. And a random piece of broken sprue. And this looks like a transmission cover that would go in the inside if you are going to be making this car in the race version. This, of course, here is the rear seat delete that would go in place on the chassis I believe they have this set up. I just quickly glanced at the instructions. This goes like this on here, and then this is going to go like that. Something like that, and then your seat goes here. And you basically have no real interior, and you're putting in all the roll cage stuff like that. In lieu of the interior bucket, instead of this guy going in like that, right? This obviously don't fit in there. Although I could modify this to fit over here and give it the look of they've deleted the rear seats, but I'm not really interested in doing that so much. I'm not making this a race car, so as I mentioned already, I'm going to be waiting for the airplane to take off until I talk again. I need to primer all of this stuff, and so I'm going to do that first and give this all a shot of primer. And unfortunately you guys won't be able to see the detail on it after I'm all done, and it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes. I can't really avoid it. Yeah, so that's going to be the first, well, kind of the first step is to clean up all of these little, all this flashing and nub marks and stuff like that. Now, you guys watch my channel, you guys know this is literally the first actual car build on my channel, but it's not my last. So let's see what's first on this, so we can actually start putting some of this stuff together. The instructions are pretty simple and straightforward. There's not a lot to them, and obviously not too many parts to this car. We start off with the wheels, then we assemble the engine, and we move on to the lower chassis, putting our exhausts in, and we start building our interior bucket, where we have our options of just a normal interior or race car stuff. Then we flip over. We have an option of a standard gear shifter if we want to put that in, and then we put a bucket seat in, we put our roll cage in, and then we start on the body, assembling the body, put the pieces of the body together, put the interior in the body, put it all together, put the hood on, put the decals on, and you're all done. So step number one is our tires. Okay, so, but before I start working on these tires, I'm going to primer some of these, because the engine's next, and the engine needs to go together. Actually, no, I changed my mind, and I'm allowed to change my mind. We're going to work on the tires, okay? So we need some chrome pieces, we need our wheels here. Need to decide which ones I'm going to use. I think, see, what's kind of unfortunate is these particular ones that are supposed to be the Pontiac wheels don't really look authentic to the real car. It's not terrible, but it's just not that great. But I'm going to use them anyway. I'm going to use these ones. I'm going to use the ones that are supposed to be the Pontiac wheels. One thing I will say, they don't leave you a lot of room to get in there with nippers. To get these off the sprue. But This one is terrible. I'm gonna have to use a knife to get in there. We've got lots of... this old 1980s tooling didn't really leave a lot for precision, if you know what I mean. But that's just the way it was. And that's what we had to deal with way back when. And because this kit is from that era, that's what I got to deal with now. Can you modify them to make them more true? The wheels, if you're talking about the actual wheels to make them, no, there's no way I can modify them to make them look more like the actual authentic thing. That's where other companies and brands that make that kind of stuff are really your friend if you want to go authentic with it. Yeah, that is true. Okay, let's change this again. So you can see what I'm doing on these. I'm going to change my glasses so I can see a little better close up. A little bit of this right in there. You want to preserve the lip while at the same time getting rid of this ugly nub on there. That's the trick. I was actually thinking of making this as a race car and actually putting big slicks, great big slicks on the back. See, this is an unfortunate part where the chrome has been removed from the plastic. There's kind of a lot of flashing. So you don't really know just how much flashing there is until you actually put it on the tire, and suddenly it's really not round and looks horrible on there. There's a lot of flashing on this particular wheel. It sucks having to remove so much flashing because it also removes the nice chrome finish off the very edge. It's not that big of a deal, but if you're going to scrutinize it and look at it up close, it might be something you notice. All depending on what color the model's molded in. So if the model's molded in white, then you might never notice it, but then again you might. You know what's there, and it's really how much is that going to bug you? You know, it's something that's really going to be an issue for you. Again, lots of flashing to scrape off just on this lip. There we go. More flash. These wheels have a lot more flashing on them than I thought they did. But you know, once you actually start working with them, then you start noticing it. This one's got like a whole, it's a millimeter worth of flashing coming off the side of that. 1980 as an 8-year-old kid, I probably wouldn't have bothered doing this so much with these wheels. Alright, so those cleaned up, we got to deal with our actual tires. So let's trim all this out of there. Okay, there's one. Two. Three. And four. Of course, nippers not being able to get right in there, you're going to have to clean that up a little bit. The question is, how badly do you want that cleaned up? Okay, you can do this and fit it in there. Hey, look at that, it's hidden, right? Just like that. Okay, but we have to deal with the back of the wheel. Okay, so the fronts have a little pin that's going to go through there, so I got to find number 23. That might be on the same sprue as the actual things. No. So we need number 14 and number 15. These are the fronts and rears. The other half of the rim. Okay. Now, let's just take our dashboard off of here, because that's the only thing left on this particular sprue. Does this say on here what year this is molded in? Diversville, Iowa. Made in USA. Ertl. Ertl. That's who made this. Ertl. Okay, but I gotta find number 23. Now that's the fun part of older kits. You didn't have lettered sprues. They just could put the numbers, and I think these are them. Number 23, these two guys here. One and two. Okay. So these guys are going to go through here like this, and of course you don't want to glue them. But we got to clean up our rims here a bit. And of course, what are we doing here? We've got a chrome rim on the outside and gray on the inside. And it actually tells you here to paint this flat black. What kind of real life car has a wheel that's chrome on one side and flat black on the other? None. I tell you, that's how many. It's not very realistic there, Ertl. Of course, the rear tires are a little bit different. They're going to be going on what looks like would go on a rod. I guess we'll find out when that comes. Let's just take a look. Let's put our little chrome rims in here. Let's move these aside. With our rear axle, yeah, so we've got what looks like a big long rod. Big long straight axle, on one of these. I'm not seeing it. It just says do not cement, and it doesn't give me a actual part number of that. Remove the gray areas on part number 21 and omit steps and sections with alternate exhaust sections to be assembly. Repeat for the other side. Repeat step 6. So, where am I getting this rod from? Because it doesn't tell me a part number. Does not tell me a part number for the rear axle piece. So where is, I'm looking for, so you know, there's the drive shaft right there. That's exhaust pieces. Engine and intake. This is part of the roll cage. That's all roll cage parts. This is also roll cage parts. This is one part for the roll cage. This is exhaust. Exhaust tipped. These two pieces go on here and here. And that is it. So we have the holes for the rod to go through. Am I supposed to just make up a piece of rod? Or is there something here maybe? Is there just a straight long piece? Does not look like it. Something I missed in the box. Nope. Box is empty. Nothing in there. So, that's fun. Not. So we don't have an axle. We do not have a rear axle. There's nothing I missed here. There's no part I missed. I just simply don't have a rear axle. No rear axle. It doesn't give me any indication of what diameter of shaft I should use or what kind of rod I might be able to use out of there. Yeah. So basically, if I want to have rear wheels that actually spin, I'm gonna have to find a piece of rod that will fit through there and be able to use that. So that should be fun. That'll be a challenge. Engine house doesn't quite go together properly. That's okay. So anyway, let's pick two to be our front wheels. And we have this and this. It's supposed to go like that. And then this goes in here. So question is, do the two halves of the rims actually touch? Yes, they do. Since they actually touch, in order to get them to glue, you need to scrape off some of the chrome. Okay? And you can do that with a file or you can use a knife. The file can work wonders in getting things flat and where you need them to be, and does short work of the chrome. Just keep turning it around and around till you get to a point where all that chrome paint is off and everything is nice and smooth. There we go. And that's more than enough, okay? For the amount of contact this is going to have on here, That's more than enough. You don't want to get any glue in the middle, so you want to try and do just the outside, so that when you do that, it goes together and it sticks, and it doesn't actually glue this little axle together, right? So there's one. Put that guy back in there. Okay? Let's work on the next one. Let's get this guy all nice and filed down and smooth. The other thing is you don't want to file more than you have to, because you don't want to make it thinner and then you don't actually have it mating up against the thing when you've got it installed. Okay, so there we go. So let's get some glue. Being careful not to get to the middle, I'm just going to go around the edge. Like that. Put that together. Squeeze them together a little bit to make sure we got contact, and that should hold. It's practically an antique. Yes, it is. Very, very old. And hello. Yes, hello to you too. Alright, so that's one wheel put together. We're going to put this one together next. Now we've got a little bit of cleaning up to do on this one. Otherwise we're going to have a rough spot when that wheel turns. Probably 1980-ish. Yeah, it's something like that. Being it's a 1979 Firebird, my guess would be it's like, yeah, molded in 1980. I was trying to find something that indicated the actual year. Usually there's a copyright on here on the instructions or something like that, but there doesn't seem to be anything in the instructions that indicate what year it was all molded in. It might be on the box. Don't know. Looks like it was originally $49.95 as a sticker on the box. It's pretty expensive for back then. For ages 10 to adult. Yeah, there's no year. Yeah, it doesn't say. It just tells you the Ertl Company in Dyersville, Iowa, and gives you the number. But that's it. There's no actual year. That's okay though. We know it was like early 80s anyway. Something like that. Okay, so which one did I glue now? Not this one. So, just a little around the edge is all we're going to need. Put that in there. Squeeze them together for a minute. That to hold. Alright. Let those sit. We got to do the same thing on these. Get rid of that chrome so the glue will hold. Might as well do both at the same time. Get rid of that pretty chrome so the glue can hold. Fun stuff. Alright. 1 and 2. Obviously don't have to worry about the inside of these, so we can slather on as much or as little glue as you want. Even give her a little twist so the glue's spread where it needs to be. Good stuff. Alright. Next. Final wheel. There we go. That's got some good bite on that one. Alright, so double check. These can spin. Yep, that one spins. This one also spins. So I did my job right. I didn't get glue on the center peg, so my wheels will be able to spin. Just like that. Same with this one. Alright. Okay, so next up, let's put some of our engine parts together. We obviously have our two halves of the engine block. Since they were loose in the box, or in the bag. So obviously don't have to worry too much about that. Along with a random battery. It's unfortunate I don't have the actual rear axle that's supposed to be in it. But, you know, that's life. That's the way it goes. It is also a little unfortunate. It doesn't quite line up 100%. Our output shaft on the transmission is a little off. So I do want to file that down. This is going to be the underside. You're going to be able to see that. And I don't really want to see this ugly looking seam line when I pick up this car and turn it over on its belly. I don't want to see that. So I do want to fix that up. So let's find our other pieces here. We have the heads and the intake. These are all going to be the same color. A nice bright light blue. That's the color Pontiac used to love painting their engines. You know, GM always painted their engine blocks orange. Ford always did a kind of a medium blue. Or sometimes they did a red, I think, on their big blocks, if I remember correctly. Back in the 60s and 70s. It's a 2006 rebox of a 1980s kit. Oh, wow. 2006. Even that still seems really faded. Like my instruction sheet here, you can tell it's like a faded yellow color. Thanks a lot, airplanes. Okay, so we want to have the thick part of the head facing down like this. Okay. I own a 1970 Tempest and a 64 Bonneville. Oh, wow. Unfortunately, I never owned any cars from the 60s. My cars were always... Oldest one I had was a 77 Mustang. Yes, it was the Mustang 2. And, yeah. The mid to late 70s Mustangs that everybody hates. But, you know, I loved it. I love that car. Intake manifold going on. There is a little notch on there to make sure you're putting it on the right way around. Fits in just like that. Let's make sure I got it straight. As straight as I can get it. There we go. It's really wide block. Quite the wide block on that. Okay. Front cover. I own a 1940 Chevy pickup. Oh, wow. I think if I had a car from the 40s or something like that, I'd want to drive it all the time, but I'd be afraid to drive it all the time because it's so special. Okay, I don't know, we got a random nub on the back of this that doesn't serve a purpose. Other than to make sure it doesn't really line up. Doesn't really line up, so I'm going to shave this little nub off. So it can sit flush. Still doesn't like to. I got a huge gap on the one side, so filing we're doing. Again, that's the thing with old tooling. You don't get all this nice precision that we're used to with modern kits, especially Tamiya kits. So the only thing we have lining it up is the one pin, and that's it. So you could, in theory, get this lined up in that hole, and you could have this all oriented funny and not be exactly how it's supposed to be. Let's try putting the oil pan on. Oil pan is chrome, of course, very typical. But let's assume this is a factory engine for a moment. Factory engine, car's rolled out of the showroom, off the showroom floor. And you ask yourself, what color is the oil pan? A factory car. And you see, they don't have this lined up all that great. We got this terrible nub here. Oil pans from the factory were definitely not chrome. So they don't have the pin that's supposed to go in the hole lined up perfectly. It doesn't fit, it doesn't line up. I'm either going to have to shave off the back of the, shave off this little rib, or just trim that hole away. I want to try, kind of forced it in there, forced it in. How does our front look? So I can glue this on like that, and that's exactly how it's supposed to go. So that's what I'm going to do. Oil pan is not glued on right now. It's just press fit. So I can glue that on, get that like that. So the oil pan, I don't know if I want to leave it chrome. I could leave it chrome. It adds a little something on the bottom. Something a little special. I'm not going to put on the distributor cap just yet. And I'm not going to put on our pointless carburetor just yet. Where is that carburetor? Number 108. Number 108, probably chrome. Yeah, this little rectangular block of chrome here with zero detail on it, which is going to be covered up by this piece right here, doink, and you're never going to see it. You're never going to see the carburetor, ever. But that's okay. So, valve covers. Should I leave them chrome? Sure, why not? Everybody loved chrome valve covers in the 80s. So why not? Okay, again we've got a little hole that's not a full circle to give you an idea of just how this thing is supposed to go. So if everything's right, that's wrong. It goes like that, I think. This carburetor basically does look very similar front and rear on both sides, but, and of course we've got another half circle peg sticking out the top of it, but for, okay, so that will work if you've got, this is gonna go like that. Really tight fit, but that's going to go like that. Now let's get it out of there. Okay, so yes, I was right, and it goes like that. So the trick is getting rid of some of this chrome so that it will actually stick with glue. Scrape away some of this stuff on the bottom. There we go. And there we have our carburetor. Okay, I'm going to pull the oil pan off, just like that, because I need to paint this. Oh, that's funny. The carburetor is actually on an angle down. I didn't notice that till just now. I don't know if you can see that, but the carb is actually angled with the front of the carb lower than the back. I didn't know they did that on those. So I want to file this down and get rid of that lip and give the illusion of our transmission housing being one piece. File that down a bit. I'll do a bit on the bell housing too. See how that looks once I got some primer on it. As we get further back on this transmission, it gets a little worse, but try and do a little bit anyway. Give that illusion that it's actually one piece and not two halves sandwiched together. Okay, so I'm going to hit this with some primer and we'll see how this looks. I'll just my trusty little clip here. Let's see if that'll hold. That. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's get some primer. And let's get to work and throw some paint on it. Again, just using Mr. Surface Surf 1500. And unfortunately, you know, once I get this on there, suddenly you guys can't see any of the detail. So, I'm sorry for that. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. So, whoops. Yeah, see, that held a long time, didn't it? Alright, we got a good coat of primer on there. It's now a shiny gloss black that will flatten out in a minute. So while that's drying, I'm going to hit the undercarriage with some black. Get some of this flashing on here. It's pretty awful just how huge they put these pieces here to hold it on the back. Just enormous blocks. Pretty awful. Huge. Okay. I'm going to clean that up before I paint it. So otherwise I wind up having to do this after it's painted, and then I got to paint it again. So I do the same job twice. If you can avoid it, right? Look at these big honking knobs in there. Terrible. That would definitely give me a headache later when I'm trying to fit it in the body. Alright, that's ready for it. What's that? Back in the 80s, I owned a Chevy 40. The car was a Rochester or a Carter. It wasn't angled. Oh, really? Huh. Well, I just learned something. So I wonder why they molded it like that and put it like that in the kit. Because that is definitely angled. Like the intake plane is like this on that. Yeah, it's the actual intake manifold that's on an angle like that. So when the carb is mounted, it's not level. It's actually facing downward. It's interesting. I don't even know what engine this one is supposed to have. If it's the, well, it's not the turbo, I know that, but it might not be the 6.6. It might be the 6.6 in this kit. I'm not sure. I'm not. I was never much of a follower of Pontiac stuff when I was younger. So, I mean, yeah, I loved Smokey and the Bandit, and that's what made me fall in love with the Firebird, really. But, you know, the first Smokey and the Bandit, he had the 78 Firebird, or maybe it was a 77. And then I think it was Smokey and the Bandit 2 that he had the had this one, and I always loved the four square headlights of the 1979 and 80 model more than the Eagle Eye, as they called it. I know the Eagle Eye has a lot more fanfare, and a lot of people love the Eagle Eye headlights more. I just preferred this one. I don't know why. Personal preference, I guess. I just liked it. And so, yeah. When I was younger, I used to think, yeah, it'd be cool to have a Firebird, but I was always a Ford guy. I was always into Mustangs. And so I know all about Mustangs, and I can tell you all kinds of things about Mustangs, but not Firebirds. And not Pontiac, especially. All my buddies back then, when I was younger, they were all into Chevys and Camaros. The Firebird was really just, didn't get a lot of love. The Bandit's car had an HD 455. Ah, okay. We've got some weird flashing going on inside the interior here. Little just bit of extra crap that for some reason okay. Now the interior on this thing, I am going to go with what they called back then. I did a little bit of research. The engine options were likely 350, 400, 400 Ram Air 455, or HD 455. So this one's got the shaker hood scoop. So would that be the HD then? The HD 455? Let's see if we can tell by the decal. TA 6.6 on the cover, on the box art. TA 6.6, so that's definitely the 455. I'm guessing because it's got the shaker hood scoop, it's going to be the HD. There's our undercarriage, all nice and black, and you can no longer see the detail. I can, but you can't. Ram Air 400, yeah. Didn't the Ram Air have the two scoops facing forward? So you know, ramming the air down the intake? Isn't that how that one was? .4 is 454 Chevy, so 6.6 is probably a 400. Okay, yeah, so it is a 400 then. Huh. That's interesting. There's our interior box. Engine's got primer on it, so that's good. And successfully kind of got rid of that seam line there. So now I want to add some color to this. So that's going to be next. Put that over here, out of the way. This can go sit over here too. Let's change this back. Okay. So this is the color I'm going to be using for the engine. A nice light blue. That seems to be what Pontiac really like to use. Is a light blue color. It even says in the instructions here, paint light blue. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to fire up my air compressor and give her a nice little coat. shaked up real good. Shaked? That's not a real word. Shaken up real good. Alright. So, where'd my little clip go? I am going to hold it by the carburetor. That might work. You know what? I'm going to get a toothpick. Stick that toothpick up your transmission. There we go. 6.6 is probably a 400. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Throw a little bit of color in my airbrush. More than enough. This happens to be Vallejo's Model Air Color Light Sea Blue, which will suit my needs perfectly for this. There we go. We now have a nice light blue engine, kind of like my shirt. Slightly different hue, but there we go. Done. Now I gotta clean up my airbrush. So I'm just gonna put this over here for a moment while I clean up my brush. .6 works out to 402. Well, there we go. Now I know. This is a Pontiac 400. I would have preferred the 455, but, you know, you take what you can get, right? Of course, I'm using lacquer thinner to clean out water-based paint, so it's a little bit overkill. You don't need to use lacquer thinner to clean out your Vallejo paints, but it works. I'm so used to cleaning out Tamiya paints, which of course you do need lacquer thinner for. Or at least like alcohol or something, but yeah, you know what I mean. It's not something that's necessary, but yeah, that's what I just did. I used to think, oh, I bought all these Vallejo paints and thought they were going to be really awesome, and I've wound up not really using them that much because I hated how they dried on the tipples so much. I got so much tip drying, and then of course you get splatter and all that fun stuff that happens when the tip starts to dry. And yeah, I just really kind of stopped using them unless I got a weird color that I really need and I don't want to mix. And that's kind of how I got to just using straight up Tamiya's paints all the time. And it's just kind of how it went. So it's really rare that I actually use one of my Vallejo colors, even though I got a whole bunch of them. But yeah, it's just the way it is. So even though you can clean your brush with water, with Vallejo's stuff, just out of habit I grabbed my paint and my lacquer thinner to clean it up instead of just using water. Okay, I do like to let the thinner dry in a little bit before I actually took it off. And of course it's dry to the touch. There we go, we've got a little blue engine. Little blue engine. Now, to get the oil pan on, I do need to get rid of our chrome finish on the bottom here. Change my camera for you. It's funny how the glue just goes, hey paint, see you later. Now what's a little unrealistic is a bright chrome oil filter on the pan, but whatever. I can always paint that filter white later on. Okay, there we go. Cylinder heads, valve covers. We can put the valve covers on. One, two. Might as well grab our distributor, which is number 120. And we have a breather cap, number 119. A little bit hard to see these numbers on this. The breather cap is going to be really small. And of course they jump around. We got number 120, 106, 127. That's 110. This is 111. 155 is a stick shift. Some sort. We got another stick shift right here. Where is 119? Right here in front of my eyes. It's a tiny little piece. Right there. Okay. can't see it. I got the wrong pair of glasses on. Okay, valve covers. Clean that nub off. Where's my knife? Alright, valve covers. Let's get rid of all this chrome so that they can actually glue on. And also make sure that they are flat and that will sit nicely. Okay. Other than the fact they want the breather on this side, it doesn't look like there's any other orientation that really matters. So there's one. We want to have a little spot for the breather facing forward, obviously. Now this is where it becomes a little bit tricky because we got chrome going into a chrome hole, and so you want to be able to have it actually stay and not just fall out randomly one day down the road. So scratch away that chrome on the inside of that hole, and then try and get rid of some of the chrome on this shaft. So the glue has the ability to bite into the plastic. Okay, so we'll put the valve cover on first. And then a little glue on this guy. And shove him in his hole. Just like that. There we go, we got a breather. And now we got a little distributor cap, same kind of thing. We've got all this chrome. He's going to go back here on the back. So we just need to get the chrome off of his knob. As much fun as it might be to have a polished knob, that's not what we're going for here. Okay. Living life on the edge by not test fitting it. Looks like I survived. Alright. And that is it for our engine pieces. And so we have our little assembled engine, at least for now. beginnings of an assembled engine anyway. We're getting there. They're nice little shiny pieces in the nice bright blue. And that is where I'm going to leave it for today. Obviously, I still have a lot to primering to do. So the next time you guys see this, it's all going to be there. Everything's going to be black, except of course for my little tiny blue engine. Got to do everything in black first, get that all ready to go, and get it all primed and ready. What is the next step? Next step is just putting on more stuff on the engine, more of the engine dress-up stuff. So that's going to be next time. We'll let this set and let this dry. I might paint the distributor cap while I'm waiting for that. But yeah, that's going to be it, and that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So I want to thank you guys, and thank you, Old Manchu Warrior, for the chat and the info on the 6.6 liter engine. So that is it for today. I want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for coming out. Check out my links down below. You can check out my YouTube channel and watch all the stuff that I build on there. If you want to see still pictures of the stuff that I build, you can check out my Instagram, because that's where I upload everything onto there. So thanks again for watching, guys. Thanks for coming out, and I guess we'll see you all in the next one.